The gates opened with a loud clang. Raynor stood alone on the dusty ground. His hands were tied behind his back. He had no armor, no weapon. Just torn clothes and dry blood on his face. The alien crowd roared with laughter from the stands. Thousands of them, tall scaled creatures. Others with horns and sharp claws, some with glowing eyes. All looking down at him like he was a joke, another weak human. Someone shouted. "He won't last 1 minute." Raynor said nothing. His eyes scanned the large arena. It was a round battlefield surrounded by high stone walls. One side had giant metal gates, locked tight. Something big was behind them. Growling. Suddenly, a trumpet echoed through the air. The crowd fell silent. At the top of the arena wall, a throne of black stone stood. On it sat a tall, powerful alien woman. She was Zelina, warlord of Zarek. Her skin was dark violet. Her long silver hair moved gently in the wind. She wore shining armor made of bones and gold. 2 guards stood beside her, huge beasts with axes. She stood up slowly and looked down at Raynor. "So," she said, her voice sharp like a blade, "this is the human who dared enter my territory without permission." Raynor stared up at her but didn't speak. "You don't look like a warrior," Zelina said, her lips curling into a smirk. "You look like food." The crowd laughed again. Zelina raised her hand and pointed at the large gate behind Raynor. The metal creaked and groaned as it began to rise. "Do you know what's behind that gate, human?" she asked. Raynor turned his head slightly. He could smell something foul. Wet, hot breath. A deep, rumbling growl. "My pet," Zelina continued. "A creature born to kill. I raised it myself. It fears no one." She stepped closer to the edge of her throne platform, her golden eyes burning. "Why aren't you trembling, human? 1 word from me, and my pet will devour you." The crowd cheered wildly again. But Raynor just smiled. It was small, almost invisible. But he smiled. The gate finally opened fully, and the creature stepped out. The beast was massive, twice Raynor's height. Its body was covered in black and red scales. Its tail swung behind it like a whip. Its mouth was full of long teeth, dripping with slime. Its yellow eyes locked onto Raynor. Everyone expected Raynor to run, to scream, to beg for his life, but he didn't move. The beast growled louder and stepped forward. Raynor still didn't move. The crowd leaned in, waiting for the kill. But something strange happened. The beast stopped. Just a few feet away from Raynor, it froze. It stared at him. Its growl faded. Its tail slowed down. Zelina's smile disappeared. "What is this?" she whispered. Raynor looked into the beast's eyes. He tilted his head slightly and spoke softly, not loud enough for the crowd to hear. The beast made a low, confused sound. Then it sat down. The arena went silent. Zelina's eyes widened. Her guards stepped forward, weapons ready. Raynor turned around and faced her, still calm. "That's not just your pet," he said. "That's a creature stolen from Earth. Long ago. I know its kind. I trained them before your people even learned to build ships." Zelina clenched her fists. "Impossible. You used a trick." "Some tech." "No tech," Raynor replied. "Just respect, just understanding." He looked back at the beast. It looked at him like a loyal dog. "I know what it feels," he said. "Pain, fear, anger. You feed it with violence. I feed it with peace." The crowd began to murmur. Some looked confused. Others shocked. Zelina stepped back from the edge. "You will still die," she said quickly. "I have more beasts, bigger, stronger. You won't tame them all." Raynor smiled again. "Then let me try." The warlord stared at him, uncertain. No one had ever faced her pet and lived. No one had ever controlled it. But this human had done both with nothing in his hands and a quiet voice. The crowd didn't cheer this time. They watched in silence, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Raynor turned to the beast again. It stood, waiting for him. Quiet. Calm. He walked beside it, hands still tied, but his head held high. For the first time in years. The arena of fear felt fear itself. The beast's shadow fell over Raynor like a mountain ready to crash down. Its breath was hot. Its claws scratched the ground. Its long tongue flicked the air, tasting blood and fear. But still, Raynor did not move, not even when the beast leaned forward close enough that its slimy drool touched his boots. From the warlord's throne, Zelina leaned forward, confused. Why is it waiting? She asked under her breath. Why doesn't it attack? The arena crowd had also gone strangely quiet. They had come to see a human torn apart, not. This Raynor slowly raised his head. His hands were still tied. His body still bruised. But his voice was calm. He spoke just one word, whispered in a language none of the aliens understood. The beast blinked. Then it tilted its head. Like a puppy hearing its name, Raynor repeated the word. The crowd gasped as the beast lowered itself to the ground right at Raynor's feet. Not dead, not afraid. Obedient. Zelina stood up sharply. Her voice rang out like thunder. That's enough. Kill him now. But the beast didn't move. She pointed and shouted again, this time in her native tongue, the command that always worked. Still. Nothing. Instead, the beast made a deep sound from its chest, a soft growl. Not of anger, but of protection. It was guarding the human. Raynor turned to face the warlord. You called it a pet, he said. But you never listened to it. You only beat it, starved it, forced it to fight. He stepped beside the beast and gently touched its scaly head. It didn't flinch. I know its heart, he continued. This creature is part Terran stock. I've seen them before. Back when your kind stole DNA from Earth. The crowd started murmuring. Some aliens looked at each other in confusion. Others looked afraid. Raynor looked straight at Zelina. You created monsters, he said. But you forgot something. Even monsters remember kindness. Zelina's golden eyes narrowed. If you think that beast makes you powerful, you're wrong, she said coldly. I have dozens more, and I don't need your permission to feed you to them. Raynor gave a soft laugh. Then bring them. The beast beside him growled loudly now, as if responding to the challenge. Guards stepped forward, unsure what to do. Zelina raised her hand to stop them. She was thinking, this wasn't just about one fight anymore. This human had done something no warrior ever had. He had stopped the beast, not with chains or pain, but with calm and willpower. And now the crowd wasn't laughing. They were watching him, with respect, or maybe with fear. Zelina slowly sat back on her throne. Tell me your name, human. Raynor, he said simply. She nodded once. Fine, Raynor. You've tamed one. But if you want to live, you'll face another, stronger, more wild. Raynor glanced at the beast beside him. I'll need my hands free, he said. She waved her hand, and one of the guards hesitantly walked forward and cut the ropes. Raynor flexed his fingers. They were sore, but strong enough. I'll fight, he said. But not as your toy. Zelina raised an eyebrow. Then what? As your beastmaster, he replied. Let me train your monsters. Let me win your games. If I survive, I walk free. The warlord looked down at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. Very well. Let's see if you survive the next one. The crowd cheered again, but this time, it wasn't for Zelina. It was for the human who faced the beast and made it bow. Raynor turned away from the warlord and looked at the creature beside him. He whispered again. The beast let out a soft growl and followed him as he walked toward the holding gates. Somewhere behind those walls, more monsters waited. Raynor didn't fear them. He understood them, and now they would understand him. That night, Zelina could not sleep. The moonlight from Zarak's twin moons lit her chamber in silver blue light. The wind howled through her tall windows, but her thoughts were louder. She sat alone at her war table, surrounded by maps, bones, and data screens. But her eyes kept going back to one image frozen on the screen. The human, standing beside the beast. Untouched, unafraid. It made no sense. How did he do it? She whispered to herself. For years, her arena beasts had obeyed. Only fear and pain. She had broken them with whips, shocks, starvation. Yet this man, this Raynor, had tamed one with only his voice. She rubbed her forehead and sighed. No tricks were found. No secret tools. No tech hidden in his skin. Her guards checked. He was just human. Still, the beast had obeyed him like a loyal pet. At dawn, the arena buzzed with more excitement than ever before. Everyone wanted to see the beast whisperer fight again. Raynor was brought out early. This time his hands were free. His wounds were wrapped. And beside him walked the same massive beast from the day before, calm and silent. As they entered the arena, the crowd chanted his name. Raynor! Raynor! Zelina watched from her throne, her face blank. But inside, her mind raced. She needed to break him. She needed the old order to remain. No human should command her. Monsters are her people's respect. She raised her hand. The gates opened again. Another beast stepped out. But this one was different. It was blind. White. Scarred eyes, twisted horns. Huge bat-like wings folded against its back. It moved slowly, but with sharp senses. It sniffed the air, its tongue flicking toward Raynor. The crowd gasped. This was Garnak, the cursed beast that killed 6 champions, and even bit one of her generals in half. Zelina crossed her arms. Let's see you control this one. Human. Raynor stared at the new beast. Its body was covered in scars. Its breathing was uneven. But its soul, he could feel it. It had been tortured. More than the others, he didn't speak this time. He simply walked forward. The crowd held its breath. The blind beast growled and charged. The ground shook. Raynor didn't move, not even a step. Just before the beast reached him, it stopped. Sniffed. And tilted its head. Then slowly, it dropped its head to the ground. The arena exploded in shock. Even the guards stepped back in disbelief. Raynor placed a hand gently on its snout. It's not blind, he said softly. It just stopped looking. Too much pain. Too many lies. He turned toward Zelina. You trained them with hate. I lead them with understanding. Zelina stood up. Her voice cracked like fire. You control them? Is that what this is now? You think you're above me? Raynor looked at her calm. I don't want control. I want peace. But if I must lead your beasts to earn my freedom, I will. The crowd began cheering again, not just for survival, but for something more. Hope. Later, in the warlord's private chamber, her generals gathered. He's dangerous, one hissed. The people are watching him more than you. He must be silenced, another said. Tonight, quietly. But Zelina said nothing. She stood by the window, staring at the arena fire still glowing outside. I don't understand him, she muttered. He's just a human, a general said. No, she whispered. He's something else. The beast stood between Raynor and the crowd, calm but alert. Its breathing was slow. Its massive tail curled protectively around Raynor's legs like a shield. The crowd didn't cheer this time. They were watching. Even the air felt heavy. Up on her throne, Warlord Zelina was gripping the arms of her seat so tightly. The metal bent. The human had tamed 2 of her deadliest monsters. He hadn't begged. He hadn't screamed. He hadn't even bled today. She hated how quiet he was. She hated how sure he looked. And most of all, she hated that the crowd now looked at him the way they used to look at her. She stood up slowly. Enough games, she said, her voice cold and sharp. What do you want, human? Raynor looked up at her, his hands resting calmly on the beast's head. I want to walk free, he said. The crowd gasped. Zelina raised an eyebrow. That's bold. You're still a prisoner. Raynor stepped forward. The beast followed. Then make me more than a prisoner. A silence fell over the arena. Make me your beastmaster, he said. Zelina tilted her head. You want to work for me? Raynor nodded. Let me train your creatures. Let me fight in your name. I'll give you the greatest arena battles Zarek has ever seen. Let me earn my freedom. Her generals behind the throne began whispering. Urgently, but Zelina raised a hand to silence them. She stared down at Raynor with narrow eyes. And if you fail? She asked. Then feed me to all your monsters, Raynor said. Let them tear me apart. The crowd buzzed. This was no normal deal. This was a blood gamble. Life or death. No middle ground. Zelina smiled slightly. You fight for my glory. And if you survive, you go free? He nodded once. She turned, picked up a sharp dagger from her side table, and cut her own palm. Thick violet blood dripped down. She held it. Up. A deal in blood, she declared. The crowd roared in approval. Raynor walked to the center of the arena. A guard threw him a knife. Without flinching, Raynor sliced his own palm and raised it toward her. A beam of red and violet light reflected under the twin suns. The pact was sealed. Later that evening, Raynor stood alone inside the beast pens beneath the arena. Dozens of cages lined the dark hallway, all filled with different types of creatures, some whimpering, some growling, some sleeping. He walked slowly, talking softly to each one, not with commands, with comfort. These chains will be gone someday, he whispered to one with broken wings, but you have to trust me. Most of the creatures stared at him with caution, but not hate. His calm presence was different. Warm, patient, kind. He sat on the floor, resting his back against a cage. His fingers still hurt from the blood. Deal. But his heart felt steady. For the first time since he'd landed on this brutal planet, he had a purpose. Meanwhile, in her private hall, Zelina was sharpening her blade. A general approached. Why did you agree to his terms? The general asked. He's dangerous. She didn't stop sharpening. Because the crowd loves him now, she said. If I killed him today, they'd question my power. The general nodded slowly. So, the plan is to let him fight until he dies? Zelina smirked. Exactly. I'll give him the monsters he can't tame. The ones even I fear. She wiped the blade and turned to the firelight. He thinks he made a deal, but in truth, her voice dropped to a whisper. He just signed his death. Back in the beast pens, one of the cages made a strange sound. Raynor stood up. Alert. From the darkness, two red eyes opened, and something whispered, not in a beast's growl, but in words. Human, I've been waiting for you. Raynor narrowed his eyes. What are you? The cage door rattled slightly. I'm your next test, it hissed. It began with a whisper in the dark. Not from a beast, not from a friend, but from something cold, hidden, and angry. In the torchlit hall beneath the arena, two of Zelina's generals stood beside a steel door. Behind it, the caged beast Raynors. Next test scratched slowly at the walls. He's making her weak, one general muttered. She used to be feared, the other said. Now she watches the human like a student watching her teacher. They looked at each other. We must act before the crowd sees him as king. The next day, the sun rose over Zarek's sky like blood on metal. Raynor stood at the edge of the arena once more. The crowd filled every seat. Even the nobles, who rarely came, were here to see him. Beside him stood the beast he had already tamed, loyal, calm, alert. But today, a second cage door waited on the other side. It rattled now and then. The crowd could feel it. Something angry was inside. Up on her throne, Zelina raised her hand and spoke. Today, our Beastmaster will face a new creature. One that has never bowed, one that bit through steel. Her eyes locked with Raynor's. Let's see if he can survive. The shadow maw, the gate creaked open, and everything went quiet. No footsteps. No roar. Only a dark mist began to creep out of the cage like smoke. Then it crawled out. A sleek, black creature with glowing red eyes and a twisted snake-like body. It didn't walk. It slithered, fast and smooth. Its tail dragged behind like a shadow made real. The crowd leaned forward. Even Raynor took a step back. The loyal beast beside him growled in warning. Raynor held up a hand. Easy, but something was wrong. The creature didn't act like the others. It didn't hesitate. It didn't think. It attacked. Faster than anything before. Raynor rolled aside just in time. The shadow creature's tail smashed the ground, cracking stone. The crowd gasped. Raynor scrambled to his feet. This one was different. This one didn't feel pain, didn't think, didn't fear. Raynor's eyes narrowed. This beast, it's poisoned. Up on her throne, Zelina frowned. She hadn't ordered this. One of her generals leaned in, whispering, "It's just another challenge, my warlord." But she wasn't so sure. Back in the arena, Raynor dodged another strike. The beast didn't stop. It didn't respond to his words. Not even his energy. That's when he saw it, a black collar around its neck, glowing faintly. "Mind control tech," he muttered. "Someone's controlling it." He looked up at Zelina, but she looked just as shocked. "Not her," he whispered. "Then who?" He rolled again, barely escaping the creature's bite. The loyal beast roared and charged forward to defend Raynor, but the shadow creature slashed it aside like it was paper. Raynor's heart dropped. This wasn't a test. It was a trap. In the war room, the two generals smiled as they watched the fight on the screen. "If we can't kill him in the night," one said, "we let the beast do it in daylight." "The crowd will still cheer," said the other, "but no one will remember his name." Back in the arena, Raynor was bleeding now. One leg had been cut. His shirt was torn. But his eyes were clear. He stood tall. Then he did something no one expected. He ran toward the shadow beast. He didn't fight. He didn't dodge. He grabbed the creature's neck right on the collar and yelled a word in an ancient Terran language. The collar sparked. The beast screamed, and suddenly it stopped. Froze. Twitched. And fell. The arena fell into dead silence. Raynor fell to his knees beside it, panting. He had done it. Again. Now. His eyes searched the stands. He knew the truth. Someone had tried to kill him, not with a beast, but with a command. He looked straight at the throne, and Zelina, now standing, looked straight back. No words, but in that one look, they both knew. There were enemies hiding in the shadows, and neither of them could trust their own people anymore. The arena floor was stained with blood and dust. Raynor stood alone, chest rising and falling, one arm clutching his bleeding side. The shadow beast, now free from its glowing collar, lay still beside him, breathing but unconscious. It had stopped attacking only because Raynor had broken the control signal. The crowd was silent, not from fear, but from awe. No weapons, no armor, just a human who had now tamed 3 of the warlord's monsters. Then slowly, very slowly, the crowd began to cheer. Soft at first, then louder. "Beastmaster! Beastmaster!" Raynor didn't raise his hands in victory. He didn't smile. He just looked up at the royal platform. And her warlord, Zelina, she was already staring back at him, expression hard to read. Not anger. Not pride. Something between respect and curiosity. She turned to her guards. "Bring him to me," she said. Minutes later, Raynor stood in the private throne chamber. His wounds had been cleaned. A fresh robe was placed over his shoulders. Zelina sat on her dark throne, looking down at him. "3 monsters," she said quietly. 3 impossible victories. How do you do it?" Raynor didn't answer right away. He walked slowly across the chamber and looked at the burning fire pit in the center. "Most warriors try to control beasts through power," he said. "But they forget creatures are not machines. They feel, they remember." Zelina stood. She walked toward him, her tall figure casting a long shadow behind her. "You could have killed them," she said. But you didn't. I never came here to kill, Raynor said softly. I came to survive. She studied him in silence. For a long time, then she spoke again, this time with a voice that almost sounded softer. You are no ordinary man, Raynor. He looked at her now directly. And you are no ordinary ruler. You listen. That made her pause. No one had ever said that to her before. She stepped closer. I need people like you, she said. Strong, calm, respected, my own generals. I can't trust them. Raynor tilted his head. They sent the shadow beast, didn't they? Her eyes flicked away for a moment. Then she nodded once. They fear you, do you? He asked. Zelina looked back at him, face unreadable. I did, she said. But now, she walked past him to the window. I'm not sure what I feel. That night, Raynor sat in the beast pens again, but this time, he wasn't alone. 3 creatures, once enemies, lay peacefully around him. The first beast, the blind one, and even the shadow beast rested with their heads near his feet. He fed them pieces of dried meat, whispering gently to each. The guards watching from above didn't say anything. Even they had begun to respect him. One whispered to another, he's more warlord than the warlord herself. In her chamber, Zelina sat in silence, staring at the firelig. She thought of the cheers, of Raynor's calm strength, of how he looked into her eyes without fear, without weakness. A general entered behind her. We must remove him, warlord, he said. The people speak his name too loudly. Zelina didn't turn. If we kill him now, she said, they will rebel. Then exile him, send him back to Earth. She stood and faced him. No, she said, he belongs here now. The general narrowed his eyes. Then what is he to you? Zelina walked past him, her silver armor shimmering. She paused only once, and answered with a voice full of quiet power, he is mine now. It started with fire. The sky above Zarek burned red as explosions echoed across the war city. Sirens howled. Smoke rose from the towers. Guards ran in panic. The arena gates had been breached, and the throne room was under attack. Raynor burst through the corridor, one beast beside him, claws clicking against the stone floor. The others followed in the shadows, their eyes glowing in the smoke. He had known this would happen. He had felt it coming. The coup had begun, 1 hour earlier. Raynor stood in Zelina's throne room, speaking quietly with her. She wore no armor, only a dark robe, and her eyes had softened. There's something you're not telling me, he said. She looked down. My generals, she whispered. They sent me a message this morning. They no longer follow me. They said I've become weak because I trust you. Raynor clenched his fists. They're going to move soon, she said. Tonight, I think. Then let me fight, he said. She looked into his eyes. You're not my warrior. No, he said. I'm something worse. Now the throne room doors exploded open. Smoke and dust filled the air. 4 generals stepped in, surrounded by elite guards. Their armor was dark, their blades already wet with blood. Zelina stood from her throne, face cold. You betray your warlord? She said. One of the generals smirked. We restore the old ways. The people followed you, until him. He pointed at Raynor. A human made you soft. Raynor stepped forward, jaw tight. I tamed your monsters, he said. Now I'll tame your fear. One of the generals laughed. You think beasts can save you now? Raynor turned and gave a short, sharp whistle. Suddenly, the walls shook. From the shadows and broken doors, 3 massive beasts stormed in, ones Raynor had tamed. Their eyes locked on the traitors. The crowd of guards faltered. And then the battle began. Raynor fought without mercy. He wasn't a trained warrior, but his body moved like instinct. One general swung a blade at him, but Raynor rolled, picked up a spear, and drove it through his side. A beast slammed into a squad of guards. Sending them flying, Zelina fought too fierce and fast. Her blade cut through armor like paper, but it wasn't enough. Too many enemies. Too many weapons. Then a moment of silence. The last general raised a stolen command device, the same kind used to control the shadow beast. He pointed it at Raynor. "Stop," he said. "One word, and your pets turn on you." Raynor stared him down. Zelina shouted, "Don't!" Too late. The general pressed the button. A pulse spread through the room. The beasts froze. Growled. Turned toward Raynor. The general grinned. "Say goodbye, Beastmaster." But Raynor didn't move. He walked forward slowly, carefully. The beasts stepped toward him, growling. Then he dropped his weapon and opened his arms. "No commands," he said. "No fear, just trust." The beasts blinked. Then looked at the general. And attacked him. Instead, his scream echoed through the burning hall. The collar device shattered in their jaws. Zelina stood frozen, eyes wide. "You had no control," she whispered. "Only a bond." Raynor turned to her. "You tried to control through fear. I offered something stronger." The battle ended. The arena burned, but the throne still stood. Zelina sat in it once again, but this time, she wasn't alone. Raynor stood beside her. Crowd outside the arena gates cheered wildly. Not for one warlord. Not for one beast. But for two names. Zelina, Raynor. The warlord, and the Beastmaster. Together. That night, in the quiet of the palace garden, Zelina stood beside Raynor under the twin moons. "I gave you freedom," she said. "You could leave now. Go back to Earth." He looked up at the stars. "I could," he said, "but I won't." She raised an eyebrow. "Why?" He turned to her. "Because you need someone who listens," he said. "And I need someone who fights," she smiled. A rare, true smile. Then she leaned close and whispered, "Why aren't you trembling, human?" Raynor smirked. "Because I'm exactly where I belong."